The crying started before the buses arrived, thin and desperate, cutting through the bright late-morning noise of the station like a warning siren. People hurried past with coffee cups and phone screens glowing, sunlight flashing off windshields, while two small girls sat on a metal bench beneath the timetable board, their backpacks at their feet, their faces streaked with tears. They were alone in the open daylight, abandoned in a place meant for movement, and the contrast was painful. This is a story about what happens when one tired man notices what everyone else ignores, and how a single act of kindness in the middle of an ordinary day can reroute an entire life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet heroes, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whisper Tales 3. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that need them. Armand Hale had learned to live with exhaustion as a permanent companion. As a single father, his days were measured in school drop-offs, grocery receipts, and the careful budgeting of hope. That morning, the sun was already high, painting the bus stop in warm gold, as he waited for the route that would take him to his construction job across town. His lunch pail rested by his boots, his phone buzzed with a reminder to pick up his son after school, and his mind ran through the familiar worries of rent and time. He almost missed the girls at first, their small forms swallowed by the bus stop's chaos. But then he noticed their shoes, mismatched and dusty, dangling inches above the pavement, and the way one girl clutched the other's sleeve as if letting go would mean disappearing. The girls were named Maribel and Sienna, though Armand would not learn that until later. What he saw in that moment was fear, raw and unfiltered, the kind that lives in daylight because it has nowhere to hide. Their eyes darted at every approaching bus, then fell again to the ground. A crumpled paper lay between them, soaked with tears, its ink smeared beyond reading. Armand felt the familiar tug of hesitation, the voice that reminded him of his own limits, his own responsibilities. He had been burned before by stepping into situations he could not fix. But he also remembered the mornings when his son, Jory, had looked at him with the same helplessness after his mother left, and how a stranger's patience once kept them from sleeping in their car. Armand sat on the bench, not too close, letting the sun and the passing minutes do their work. The crying did not stop. The older girl tried to be brave, wiping her face and glancing around as if expecting someone to return any second. The younger one shook with quiet sobs, her breath catching in painful little waves. Around them, life continued in broad daylight, indifferent and loud. A bus arrived, doors side open, and closed again. Still, the girls remained. Time stretched. Armand's bus came and went. He stayed. He bought 2 bottles of water from the vending machine across the street, the cold plastic slick in his hands, and placed them gently on the bench. The girls stared at the bottles as if they might vanish. Sunlight reflected in their eyes, mixing with tears. Armand pulled out his phone and called the non-emergency number he kept saved for exactly this kind of day, explaining carefully, patiently, that there were 2 minors alone at a bus stop in full daylight, that they were scared and had been there a while. While waiting, he did the only thing he could do without words. He stayed. He kept his body angled toward them, a human wall against the world's rush. The station's digital clock ticked forward, the girls' breathing slowly steadied. When a uniformed social worker arrived with a calm smile and a clipboard, the relief on their faces broke something open in Armand's chest. Information came together piece by piece, a caregiver overwhelmed by addiction, a promise of a ride that never came. A day that began with hope and unraveled by noon. Maribel and Sienna were taken into temporary care that afternoon, and Armand returned to his job late, sweat drying on his neck, heart heavier and lighter at the same time. He thought the story would end there, filed away with other almosts and what-ifs, but daylight has a way of returning what it reveals. Weeks later, Armand received a call. The girls remembered him. They asked for him. The system, complicated and cautious, looked at Armand's steady work record, his clean home, his experience as a father. He attended meetings under bright fluorescent lights, signed papers with hands that trembled despite the heat, and listened to the careful language of possibility. Life did not become easier overnight. Mornings grew louder with the clatter of 3 lunches being packed. Afternoons filled with homework at the kitchen table where sunlight pooled like honey. There were setbacks. Nights when Maribel woke from bad dreams, days when Sienna flinched at raised voices. Armand learned to move slowly, to narrate the ordinary in daylight so nothing felt like a trap. He learned that healing does not announce itself. It sneaks in during routine, in the safety of predictable afternoons, and the quiet triumph of a good grade pinned to the fridge. The change was not only theirs. Jory, once cautious with his heart, became a patient older brother, proud and protective. The house filled with drawings taped to the walls, colors bright against the beige. On weekends they walked to the park under the open sky, the girls racing ahead, laughter finally louder than memory. The bus stop became a place they passed without fear, a landmark rather than a wound. Years later, in the same clear daylight, Maribel stood at a podium in a school auditorium, her voice steady as she spoke about resilience and the power of noticing. Sienna sat in the front row, beaming. Armand watched from the back, hands rough and eyes wet, thinking about how close the world had come to missing them. How a single bench and a single choice had bent a future toward light. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that small acts in ordinary daylight can change everything, please engage with this video and support Whisper Tales 3 so more stories like this can find their way to those who need hope. Special request before the ending, please comment the word kindness if you believe one moment of care can rewrite a life. In the end, what changed Maribel's life was not luck or timing alone, but a man who stayed when it was easier to leave, who understood that sometimes the bravest thing you can do in the middle of a busy day is to sit down, notice the tears, and let the sun witness your choice to be human.